Good evening, everyone. I am your host, Nikita Ross, the host of the Fearless Female Podcast. Today, I have a guest that I love so much. I met through Design Essentials. She was my director of education. Today, I have Miss C. Jeanine Fulton with me. She is a speaker and an author and also a strategist. She left that out of her title, but she's definitely a strategist. She's a thinker. And today we're going to kind of make it a little softer, lighter today. Today we're going to be talking about basics, the fundamentals of life. We hit some heavy topics earlier this week. We talked about focus, faith, and fortune. But today we're going to get down to the basics, the fundamentals. Hi, Janine.
Hi.
How you
Hey,
doing?
everybody. I'm doing great. It's so good to see you. Good to be on the Fearless Female Forum. It's my first time.
Yes, but not the last, not the last. Janine is really the reason that I have a podcast. I always mention her on my podcast. Yes, you are. Yes. She said, Nikita, you need a YouTube channel. You need to figure out something. I was like, what I'm gonna do on the channel, Janine? And finally, when I decided to do the Fearless Female Retreat last year in 2019, I launched a podcast in September of 2018. And so thank you for the suggestion of doing a YouTube channel. So you can also find me on YouTube, the Fearless Female Podcast. We're up to 62 episodes now, guys. So you have a lot of catching up to do. 62.
Uh,
So you're my 63rd episode tonight.
all right. That's
Yes.
awesome. Yay.
So let's jump right in. One thing about this COVID, it brought us back to the basics, fundamental, foundational living. What
Yeah,
will you
it brought us
consider?
back to toilet paper, didn't it?
Oh man, one ply toilet paper in my house one while because it was hard to find toilet paper. COVID had us buying soda. Forget Dr. Pepper, Coke. We were drinking Dr. P in my house. We were drinking cola. Like it was no respect of brand. Okay, it was
No.
whatever you could get. It really humbled us.
Yes, yes, it did.
Yes, it
It
did.
did.
So, what are the fundamentals? Some of the fundamentals of life that you focus on?
Well, like you said, COVID has brought us back to some fundamentals. And it did teach me that I could do more things that I thought that I could do without all the things that I was used to having.
Mm-hmm.
And it brought me down to focus on four things. I think that number one, communication, I like to call it language, was one thing that it brought me down to because I had to call and check on people
Mm-hmm.
and find out how they were doing. And if you're living with somebody and somebody's in your home and you're around each other a whole lot, that can be kind of tense at times. So finding the right language, I feel, was one of the basic things that it came down to, those basic life relationships, language. And also it brought me back to learning because there wasn't a lot to do. There's only so much Netflix that a person can watch.
Mm-hmm.
And those first couple of weeks, really that first month, I had to find things to do to occupy myself. So that was one of them. So the language and the learning were two of the probably most significant things that I realized. Those were things that I knew that I couldn't live without. That communication with other people, and also having the ability to just actually pick up a book and read it.
Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi went out sometimes, and it just brought things back to just the basics. The basics is, and I think that for those of us who are able to push our way through this, we will be better for it. Even and I'm not talking about people who've lost family members and loved ones, but people who um, just weren't affected in a huge major way, but just had the opportunity to realize that okay, I can do without shopping online all the time. I can do
Mm-hmm.
without um, all of the
Eating
parties,
out, the
getting
parties, the
out,
travel.
my Target runs.
Yes,
Yes,
all those things.
yes.
So you mentioned two things: language and learning. And you said you had four fundamentals. What will be the other two fundamentals?
Um, the other one is love, and last but not least is laughter. Because I think you have to uh, really as once you reach a certain age, I think we're the first generation, probably first, maybe second generation of people, 30s, 40s, or I say 40s, 50s, between 30s and 50s. We're the first group of people, probably in our families, who were able to choose what they want to do as like in life as a career. So we had the opportunity to actually love what we do versus being told or being only having like 10 jobs that you can go into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, um, mortician, doctor, teacher, nurse, lawyer, housekeeper. For a long time, those were the only jobs that were available for um, African American women and African American men. And then as time progressed, we were opened up to more opportunities. So I think that we have the privilege of loving what we do as a career, and also when you, I believe that if you love what you do as a career, you are a better person and you're able to love others more freely because you're in a better mood. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's horrible having to get up and do something that you just dislike every single day. So having this time actually helped me to realize what it is that I really really love to do, and that's to write and to speak and to put my focus in that. And then you always got to have some laughter. That's something that I do not want to live without, and I'm happy to say that I have, um, in the midst of pain, been able to appreciate and have a laugh or two along the way. So that is, and in the midst of this struggle, and that has been a lifesaver. It's been cathartic, it's been healing, and it's been funny. So those are the four, to me, the four basic things. Other than we know we need food and water,
Yes.
that's a given.
Yes.
But at this point in my life as an adult woman, those are four things that I need in order to thrive.
And
That's
I'm shocked that you didn't say faith. I love your list though. I love
you
your
like my
list.
list.
I do because you did the things that aren't predictable. Because I just knew what you guys don't know about her. She just finished seminary school. So I just knew faith would be in a mix. So learning, no, you did language first. Language, learning,
Language.
love, and laughter. I love that new list that is different than the norm. But I do agree we need all of those things. When it comes to language, I always say watch your words. Watch your words because your words shape your world. How we
They
use them,
do.
they really it really does. So it's so important in learning. I have really learned a lot throughout this last what we'll say 10 to 12 weeks. I've learned a
Hmm.
lot. I learned that I'm mentally stronger than I thought I was, and I can do a lot of things. But not only that, I started signing up for classes online. You see classes on Instagram or you see books and because it's only so much Netflix you can watch, which is true. And I saw some good TV, okay, some good
Oh
Netflix.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah. I saw some
did,
good stuff.
but it had me stuck in the bed. It definitely had me stuck in the bed a lot and had me lazy. How about that? So I said I gotta do something that's gonna get
Hmm.
me up and moving. And the love, it did make me love on people more. It made me send cards more and gifts more. And nothing major. Call people,
Right.
text people, but let people know that you love them. And it made
Right.
me do some things that I love more. For instance, I love flowers. Literally throughout
Ooh.
COVID, I have been buying flowers every week. Cause I'm like that's gonna be my little guilty pleasure. I go to the grocery store, grab some flowers, and my brother asked me yesterday, "How long are you gonna keep doing this?" I'm like, I think I'm gonna do this forever. I kind of like it, and don't let me get rich. It's gonna look like a whole like cemetery up in here. I'm gonna have flowers everywhere, or wedding, or garden of Eden in here. But I realized that simple little thing,
It's
it
so
just
true.
radiated the room. And my grandmother, in effect, and my grandmother adores them just as much as me. So I got two people oohing and eyeing over them. I'm like, I got my money's worth. But that little bitty gesture and burning candles, just setting the tone, setting the scene. But those are the things that I love. Those are the things that make me
Yeah.
happy. And then, last but not least, I have laughed my butt off. I've laughed at the kids. I've laughed on the phone. I've laughed at TV. And laughter is healing. And we need more of it.
It is.
We need more of
We
it.
do. You
So
may you were talking about flowers, and I wish I could show you, but I have. So I'm so excited because my flowers are blooming now, and I talk to my flowers. I really do, and I talked to them from the window, and my fiance said, "They can't hear you."
we're
I'm like, "Hey,
connected.
my
We're in
pretties."
sync. And even that, I found out I liked outside a little bit, So decided to create an outdoor oasis. Been walking 4 to 5 miles, three
That's
times a week.
good.
And I'm telling you, I'm a person who really doesn't like outside, but now I have a newfound appreciation for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
A
mm-hmm,
newfound appreciation
mm-hmm.
for it. Like I'm looking at it for flowers this week for outside to have a nice, colorful flower bed. So I have a question for you. You talked about laughter being healing through some real tough times. So you lost both your parents within the last 2 or 3 years, and not even due to
Mm-hmm.
COVID, just prior to
No.
that, and you were very close to them. So
Yes.
talk about the healing process when you're going through something, when you're dealing with a death, a grief, and a crisis, because we're dealing with so much of that right now.
Oh, well, I think that the grieving process is different for everybody, but it's especially different depending on um, whether you know that person is going to die, like you have time, they have a long-term illness, and it isn't a surprise to you. There is something called participatory anticipatory grief. I almost said particip. No, I'm not dying. And it was where you're anticipating someone to die, and it causes anxiety. And I had that. That was my experience because my mother had a stroke, and then she about a year later had another stroke, and she ended up in hospice, and she was in hospice for 13 days, which seemed like a really really long time to me. And it was just me constantly just sitting and watching to see if she's still breathing, to see if she's still breathing. I mean, every minute, every hour, it was. And the doctor came in and told me, you need to get out. You need to go outside. You need to go get you something to eat. And I'm not saying that it hurts any less, but the shock is not there. So that initial shock. But what people are experiencing now, who are losing loved ones during COVID, and people who lose loved ones to accidents and tragedies and um, illnesses, that like heart attacks that happen all of a sudden, you have that immediate hard impact grief that like hits you really hard. And but then as time goes on, you're able, prayerfully, you're able to to get over that initial shock and really begin to grieve and appreciate the time that you did have with that person. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and I think that everybody should think about at least getting counseling for their grief, because it can only help if you find a good counselor. And whether it be a Christian counselor or whatever religion you are in, or a professional medical licensed professional counselor, because it that grieving process is difficult, especially when you're isolated and you're not able to have funerals like we are now. um, that they're limiting the amount of people, and it's difficult when you don't have your family, your full family around you, and your friends to help you through that grieving process. But
Thank you.
it's difficult. Even now, today, I'll sit and think, oh, I wish I could call my mom or my dad and tell them this or show them this. Um, and I get a little sad, but then I come out of it.
Do you try to think about the good times, or do like
Yes, I thought, Lord, whoo, if my daddy was living right now during this COVID, I would be literally crazy trying to track him down and find out where he was, because he was on the move. At 88 years old, he was on the move. In his red Jeep Wrangler, we would be trying to track him down. I had his iPhone. I would go on the cloud and find his iPhone to find out where he was. I mean, it would be a mess. So I laugh about their personalities, and it does bring me. It focuses me. It brings me back to a state of thankfulness, and that's what we're trying to get to, that state of thankfulness that brings us peace, and where we're able to kind of reminisce and look back and experience those feelings of joy, those memories of joy.
And shed some positive light. Shed some positive
Mm-hmm.
light on their memory. We have
Yes.
6 months remaining, a little over 6 months remaining in this year. And, people talked about 2020 clarity and 2020 vision, and it's looking kind of blurry, right?
It does. It does.
It's looking kind of blurry. What is your take on that? And what is your take on still being able to conquer 2020?
Oh man. Um, what's ringing in my head is that song by Beyonce and the girls. What were they called? Destiny's Child. I'm a survivor. It's just like, if
True.
we can survive, um, I think once we get to the other side, um, we'll all have that. We're waiting for the day where we can really exhale.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I always believe that there's hope. I'm a hopeful fanatic because I believe that we will have treatment. I believe that we will have um, a vaccine. I believe that we will have a vaccine that is not about a conspiracy theory. I believe that we really will have something that can help combat the COVID. And I do also have hope that if in the future, if our children's children's children have to experience something similar, well, then the world will remember this time and be in a better position to help and to be better prepared for something if this were to ever happen again. Um, but I think that if we take some time and look at what we learned. It's like just going back to the basics. What did we learn through this time? We learned number one that we need to have some canned food in our cabinets, some food that we can eat. Some people need to, maybe you want to start growing your own vegetables or your own herbs and things, and so that we can become um, more prepared
Mm-hmm.
and have things on hand, and so that we aren't just spazzing out and having that scarcity mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But and I do, you mentioned faith. We have to always trust and believe that God will take care of all of our needs. And that's one thing, not worrying and just having that hope that no matter what, God is going to take care of my needs. If I run out of toilet paper, I'm still going to be okay because God is going to take care of all of my needs. Um, and I think that we've learned that through this entire process that it looks bleak. It looks bleak and it is a horrible situation, but there still is hope, and we have to just hang on to that. And um, my hats off to everybody who has worked through this, because truly we wouldn't be able to survive without people out there on the front lines. So my hat goes off to them
Yes,
because
to
I'm a
the
germaphobe. Girl, I'm a germaphobe. And I'm like, ah.
hats off to all the essential workers, the ones in the drive-throughs, grocery stores, hospitals, the police officers, all those people who are on the front line. I mentioned police officers. You mentioned history. What would you say in this time dealing with the social injustices that we continue to see, that we've seen images 55 years ago, 60 years ago, those same images are depicted now? What is the hope? What do we say? The time is now. I honestly believe that because we were at a true pause, no concerts, no sports, no church. I actually being able to sit in a church building and being busy, little league, rushing kids to school, sitting in traffic. We were at a real pause, and now the whole world had the opportunity to see this has been
we,
going on. Because
we were
the
we were
image really
fortunate.
wasn't anything new. It was just a different person, another day and time.
Right. we were forced to look at it because we had nothing else to look at. Um, and I'm glad that it came out because, like you said, it didn't go anywhere, but our focus was on so many different things at one time, and because there's a lot of misfortune that goes on in this world. I mean, from sex trafficking to false imprisonment. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
a broad range
Mm-hmm.
of horrible
Inadequate
things that
health care.
happen.
I mean,
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
people have been affected by COVID just because they didn't have the proper insurance, marginalized, So the system is cracked. So not only do you see it, as far as policing, imprisonment, the criminal system, but even when it comes to medical system.
exactly, exactly. And I live in the inner city, and it's heartbreaking when you hear the statistics and when you realize what's going on in your community. But I believe that because of COVID, we were in a position to actually witness and see, and as collectively as a world, we're able to see the injustices that are happening right here in our own backyards, and that's it's mind blowing. I'm so mortified that this is still going on in 2020, but I'm also grateful for the amount of press and the visual that people are being able to see what we've been and what people and activists have been fighting um, for years, for
Right?
years.
Decades.
Yeah,
Forever,
yeah,
right? For a long
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So I want to switch subjects to something a little lighter.
Okay.
Fearless females. Who are some
Fearless.
fearless females that you look up to or you get inspiration from?
Number one, you.
Are you trying to
I
make me
believe.
blush?
I'm serious. I love following you, and one of the reasons I wanted you to start videoing yourself was because you are um, you're mesmerizing. Just your personality in itself is mesmerizing, and your family, everybody's so loving, and just to be honest, I mean, y'all are just really cute. I mean, okay, y'all put together head to toe, granny and all. Okay,
Granny and
so
all, she the ringleader. Granny's the ringleader.
we the ringleader, and I love to see I love to see images of us like that. And you all exude fearless. You do, your mom, your daughter, your granny, your sister, I mean your friends, you really exude it even before you put the fearless female forum together. So I would definitely say you.
Thank you.
I have some amazing friends that I look up to. One of them, her name is Carla, and she is um, my Bible minister friend slash attorney, and she's just amazing. And so I have lots of friends that I look up to, and really, now that my mom has passed, I have an aunt, and I also, well, she's not my aunt, she's my cousin, but I call her cousin Aunt Jackie, who I talk to often, and my babysitter who babysat me from the time I was born until I was 5 years old. She taught me how to play spades. She taught she taught me how to watch soap operas when I was little. She taught me the Lord's Prayer. But she's always been there in my life, um, a steady figure, adult figure in my life. And now she is someone who I look up to, who's always there to share a word of advice with me. And she is well in her 80s and just a joy to talk to. And she cracks me up. So I like to have friends in as many generations as I can.
Oh yeah,
And
that
I think that,
generational wealth. Like seriously, it's important. Even in churches, if you go to a church where everybody's young, that's not good. Because you don't have that wisdom there. Then you go to a church where everybody's old, you have all this wisdom, but you don't have that ingenuity that normally comes from youth, right?
right,
But when you go to
right,
a church, that's why I love my church. It's like definitely intergenerational. You have your kids, your 20-year-olds, your college students, your 30-year-olds, your 40-year-olds, but then you have your 50, 60, 70, like, and it's a good mix. It's a good assortment. But we need that. I love to keep
yeah,
millennials around me because they keep me fresh and relevant. But yes, I love
mm-hmm,
talking to Granny. I love picking Granny's brain. I love sitting and going to lunch with my mom and Cheryl, and they older than me. But yeah, we do need that good gumbo of fearless females in our life. We don't need everybody just like us. A nice
right,
assortment. Yeah, we
right,
do. Before we
right.
leave, I want you to share three great books that you really enjoy and that you have applied to your life that maybe some of our audience can pick up. Because I'm always loving to learn about new books and new authors.
Okay, let's see. The most recent book that I read is Goliath Must Fall, and that is by Louis Giglio, and he is the pastor of Passion City Church here in Atlanta. Let's see. I love anything by Seth Godin.
You
He
know what?
is
He must be something amazing. Never heard of him until Monday, this past Monday. But Charlotte Stallings, she mentioned him on Monday, so I had to check him
oh
out
yeah,
two
I
times in one
love
week.
yes, I love anything that he writes, and he I follow him on Instagram, but he's just been
She said the same
somebody that I
thing.
great business and marketing and branding books,
That is what
a
she
great
said.
mind. And let's see, um, who else? I'm trying to think of something recent that I read. Um, hmm, mm, mm, I've been. Those are the most. Well, I don't want to say most two recent authors that I've
Okay.
read, and the reason is because I am actually writing a book. So I'm trying not to
Read too
read
much.
read too much. Um, and I'm doing research. So I'm reading um, journals and commentaries and things like that. But I love um, Beth Moore, Toni Morrison. I like biographies and autobiographies. And um, um, since I went to seminary, I read a lot of Christian books, Christian
Mm-hmm.
based books. So anything by Beth Moore. I like her writings. Um, and again, I like the business books. I love Jeffrey Gitomer. You know, he has the series, the Little Book of whatever, the Little
Okay.
Book of yes, the Little Book of Sales, the Little Book. And they're these little tiny little books, but they're very informative and fun and impactful. Because if you use his principles, they actually will work for you. So those are just some of the people that I read. Here lately, I've been reading poems. Langston Hughes. I think it's important also to listen because I listen to old interviews and I like documentaries. Watched a documentary about Imelda Marcos on Netflix. Yeah, Sign of the Times.
Really? Have to
Yes.
check that out. So you
Yeah.
are an author. I know you do a lot of reading. You say you're currently working on a project. What books have you written so far, and how can they keep up with you or purchase a book?
Okay. Well, I have written two books so far. The first one is called Industry Insight 101 Top Beauty Careers. And that's a so anybody interested in the beauty industry, that book is available on um, cjanine.com. You can just cjanine.com me. And also, my second book is kind of an ode to grandmothers. And it's really a book. It's kind of like a love story to my own mom because a lot of her life, even though it's fiction, a lot of the stories are true. And that's called When Grandmothers Wore Aprons: Life and Leadership Straight from the Hip. So that's book number two, and you can find those. by just going to my website, cjanine.com, and inboxing me, or go to any of my social media at cjanine. And cjanine is the letter C and then Jeanine. And let's see, in my next book is, I can't tell you the title of it, but it's gonna be funny, and it's a soul searching, um, Christian based, funny, um, self help, for lack of better terms, self help book. And I think that it is going to um, be great for retreats and workshops. It's just going to be a really funny, fun, and educational book. We're going to learn, we're going to laugh, we're going to love, and we are going to just really know what language we need to speak after we finish this. After you finish the book, so
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. And when I say coming, coming virtually from your living room in Atlanta. And thank you for saying yes to the retreat. I look forward to bringing you to Houston in September 11th through the 13th to share more. And
yay!
hopefully that book is ready by then. Until next time, see you later.
Thanks,
You're
Nikita.
welcome.